One of the biggest issues that I had in business and still, I guess, have a little bit to this day is being able to turn my brain off and turn my head off. See, I started out in business really young. I never have had a normal job. I've never actually really been an employee other than working a couple of odd jobs. And even then, I was still running my business or still trying to get it up off the ground. And what the biggest thing that I had was always just turning off my brain. I would work all day. I've always been a big worker. I've always worked a lot of hours. I love working. I just really, really fucking enjoy it. And I've always worked massive, massive hours, massive days. And particularly when I was growing the business, and my first business, there was a point where I was running multiple businesses there. And particularly when I was really, really busy and I had a lot of fires going on, like fires, a lot of problems, a lot of things burning down. We call them fires because it feels like everything's burning down around you. Have had employee issues. I've had customer issues. I've had, all sorts of issues, tax issues, the whole lot, the whole shebang. Like I've had them all. And cash flow issues too. They're always fun. And one thing I found is that when I am really, really hectic and a lot of stuff's going on, there's no end between work and home. And so what ended up happening is that I'd always bring my work home with me. And so I'd just be always on. Back in the day when I used to lift more, I'd be thinking about work when I was at the gym and I'd have a shit session. Or I'd get home and I'd see my girlfriend, I'd see my partner, and, I'd just be thinking about work. And they'd be like, the fuck are you even doing here? Like, what's the point in us hanging out if you're not even going to be here with me? Since my daughter Layla's been born, it's one of the things that I've been most paranoid about is that when work ends, so that it doesn't encroach in. Because what can happen is that you're just thinking about work all the time. From the moment you wake up in the morning, right, through to the moment you go to bed, you're thinking about work. And then even at night, your head is still thinking about work. You dream about work. You probably had those dreams before where you're dreaming about stuff which is going wrong at work or stuff which you got to do. You wake up at 3 a.m. thinking about things that you got to do the next day and you can't get back to sleep. The first thing that happens in the morning when you wake up, you check your phone, there's a million notifications. Fuck, there it goes again. Your head just keeps racing and racing and racing. What I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you some really, really simple hacks that I had to implement in order to be able to fix that. So that you can actually turn your head off. Because if you don't, it will own you. It'll fucking own you. And it'll ruin your life. And what's really interesting too is that when you're on work all the time, your head's just constantly thinking, it's not a good thing. It doesn't make you better at work. It makes you far worse. All of the genius ideas, all of your best ideas, all the things that are like end up making you the most money come when you're relaxed. Literally every single time. Think back on it. When you started up your business, were you highly stressed? Were you working a million hours then? Right? Or did the idea to start that business come from a time where you're chilling out and you're relaxing? Yeah, every single time it's when you're relaxed. Whenever you are your most effective, it's when you're relaxed and you're calm. And that's what we need to encourage. Continually working all the time is just going to make you burnt out. It's going to make you a shitter dad to your kids. It's going to make you a shitter partner to your partner. It's just going to make you worse at your job. So we need to stay relaxed, all right? Now, the key to this, to switching off, how to get your head off work. Step number one, you need to be around people who get it. Most guys who are high-performing men, most guys who are businesses, guys in the C-suite, guys who are higher up, right? It feels like nobody gets you. You're in a position where you're unusual, you're uncommon. Because in a business of 10, 50, 100, 1,000 employees, there's only one founder, there's only one owner. In a business where, there's, once again, 20, 100, 500 employees in that business, there's only 5, 10 guys in the C-suite, or 5 or 10 guys who are executive. If you're in a leadership position or you're in a management position, it's not common. The very first thing that you need to do is you need to get around other people who are like you and actually be able to talk with them about this stuff. I definitely wouldn't advise this for people that you're actually in business with because it's just it's a weird dynamic. You need to be around people who you're not doing business with, you're not actively engaged with in business, who actually get this stuff, right? Who actually understand what's going on. They're not going to judge you, there's not going to be any negative repercussions, but people who you can actually speak with openly about the stress and what's going on. One of the most stressful parts about being stressed, one of the most stressful parts about all this stuff that's going on, which keeps your head running, is that it feels like it's only you that's experiencing this. It feels like you're the only person in the world that has employees who want to quit on a whim. You're the only person in the world that feels like their salespeople are on an emotional roller coaster. It feels like you're the only person in the world who has a dickhead boss. You're the only person in the world that has all these awful customers. You're the only person in the world that the tax man wants to fuck. You get all these ideas that you're the only person who is suffering from this, but it's simply not true. And until you actually get the perspective on that, you won't believe it and you won't be able to actually see it. So that's step number one. That's the most important thing by far, is being around other people. I have a number of guys who I coach, and the reason why they come and they work with me directly, or they work with myself, they work with Josh, they work with Steve, is because we get it, because we've actually been in that position before and we know what they're going through. It's probably the most helpful thing that you can have is, number one, relatability with people around you, and number two is perspective, right? And that's where I'm going to come on to the next thing, which is perspective in itself. Perspective is looking at is the way in which you wish to see the problem. You're always going to get shit which is going to go wrong. We're high-performing men. Part of being high-performing is that you have a higher ability or higher threshold to deal with stress. If you were going to take the easy route in life, particularly here in Australia or in Canada, what you can do is you can just sit back on your couch and suck bongs all day and get paid by the government. Fucking great life, right? You can do that. You don't have to work. And even if you didn't want to sit back and suck bongs, you wanted a bit more than that, you could just take a really cruisy gig where you can work 30, 40 hours a week, get a salary, cash in the bank. It's pretty easy, right? But you don't choose to do that. You want something more. You want something higher. And that's because you want to push yourself. And part of pushing yourself, part of being a high-performing man, is you're going to have stress which comes onto your plate. That is a fact. You are going to get that. You cannot get around that. And so what we need to look at is when we have these stressful events, we need to look at them from a fresh perspective. We need to understand the perspective that we're dealing with. Instead of looking at fuck, all my employees are quitting. Fuck, I don't have enough cash in the bank. Fuck, we're not hitting our projections, we're not hitting our targets, we're not where we want to be. Instead of looking at these as, looking at these as all stress, look at it as all these problems that need to be solved. How am I going to emotionally and logically and rationally solve these problems? If you can do that, things will get easier. Now, with that being said, very, very difficult to do by yourself, and most people fail at that. And that's where you need to have, the first thing I suggested is someone in your circle who gets it. Someone who actually understands you and what's going on. I think I've talked to you guys about this before. I had one of my clients and good friend, went through an issue where they lost a contract worth 400 mil, right? 400 big ones. And he's a great dude, this guy, like good friend of mine, one of the few guys that say I trust my life with. And we talked about it a fair bit. And one of the things that I saw within him is that as he was going through and dealing that, he had an incredible way to, number one, lean on people when he needed to lean on them, but number two, reframe his perspective appropriately so that he could ensure that losing that contract, which is a big chunk of change, right? That's $400 million contract. That sets you up for life, right? That sets you fucking 5-10 generations down the line. You can set that up. If you get a contract like that and it repeats, that's setting up multiple generations down the line. And to lose something like that, you need to reframe that. You need to look at it from a different perspective. And he did that. He changed the perspective. He saw it as an opportunity to improve and refine the business. He did. And then after that, went out and won a boatload more contracts, right, afterwards. And has actually got the business into a much better position than what it was before. The third thing after that you need to be able to do is you need to rewire your nervous system. I know I always hammer on about this, but there's fucking always what you need to do. The guy that I just mentioned, Marcus, right? There's a story about it. He missed out on the $400 million contract, right? That's what he did. We worked with him for literally like coming up to 6 years now, 6 years, right? Just on refining his nervous system, getting in a position where he's cool, calm, and collected 24/7, 365. It's what I do every single day. Every single day, I'm just working on this nervous system, making it better. If you get your nervous system in line so that whenever something stressful occurs, you don't just switch into fight or flight. You don't just switch into stress mode. You can stay in relax mode. You can stay in chill out mode. That is when you're onto a gold mine. That is when you won't be bringing your work home. That is when you'll be able to be present for your wife, present for your kids. That's when you'll be at your most effective. That's when you'll be at your most creative. And that is when you'll have your biggest wins. Cool? So they're the three things. Number one, your circle, having people who understand you, who get you and get the problems you're going through. Number two, perspective. Number three, nervous system. Okay? On that note, guys, I've got a dry throat, so I'm going to jump on off. But if you have any questions, reach out. If you want to know more about this and you find that stress is actually impacting you and you're not quite sure how to manage your stress as well as what you would like, right? What I want you to do is just comment down below, just comment help. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot you across one of my resources on how to manage stress much more effectively, right? Incorporating some really, really cool techniques that I've used over the years. So just comment help down below in the comment section, and either myself or Josh will send them across to you, okay? On that note, guys, I'll speak to you soon. Have a wonderful evening.